All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Charles Fricker, and welcome to the Frick Squad Show. Thank you, John Weir, for helping us out with this and getting this all nicely recorded. And, well, welcome the guests on today's show. Got Kevin, Ryan, and Matt, all my buddies from growing up. So, y'all ready to get this started?
For sure.
I guess I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
All right, so we've all now been in the working world for about a year. And it's kind of different. So, what have y'all noticed since your time? Like from internships, anything?
Noticed. That's a pretty broad question.
Yeah, come on, Travis. We need something better than that. Noticed.
I'm just trying to start the conversation.
I mean, I didn't even.
Well, I'm
going to
start by making fun of you.
You didn't do an internship,
I did not
Ryan?
do an internship at all.
How did you get a job?
I wonder that
I don't know.
too all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I didn't do an internship in college. I got a job right out of college in basically the same position I'm in now, but I just at a smaller, shittier company. And then, like I said, didn't work for a year. Now doing the same job, different company, bigger company, better resources. I mean, definitely noticed that. I guess the one thing I noticed while going through all that, interviewing at 50 different places, was that, when you come out of college, you think you don't have a choice of where you get to work because you're like, I just got to take whatever I can get some experience. Actually going out there, once I realized I could just work wherever I wanted, there was no reason to just take the worst job I could, and that was the first one to come along, and I think that definitely made a huge difference in at least my selection process moving forward and going through that. So
how many interviews did you do?
I probably did at least 50.
Dang.
Yeah, see, I had, a couple internships, and I had, 3 interviews. So
Yeah,
definitely internships make a difference.
Granted, I mean, I was offered a good handful of jobs, and I returned them all down, too. Because, like I said, they just weren't exactly what I was looking for. One was, selling magazine ads. Making 200 calls a day. You were on a dial tracker. I was like, that doesn't sound like where I want to be. So
when you left college, then did you know where you wanted to work or
I had,
because that sounds like kind of the difference with Kevin. He's like, I got the internships.
I went for where I wanted to work, and I got the internship.
Yeah.
And
I didn't even have
the next job.
I had an economics degree. I didn't even have necessarily a field that I knew I wanted to work in. I just knew I wanted to work in finance somewhere, something that I could actually utilize my degree in. Even right now, I don't really use my degree that much. It's definitely not where I thought I was going to be, that's for sure.
No one uses their degree.
See, that's the thing, is internships saved me because I had a shitty GPA. So I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get hired anywhere. As soon as someone says, yes, I'll be your slave.
Once you get your foot in the
there
door,
was definitely a point where I was sitting there
easier.
man, I should have just done an internship.
That's why internships are good, because they're easier to get. And you already have your foot in the door for the next job.
Yeah, but another big difference is you're finance and us three are technology.
Yeah.
And technology is kind of in demand right now, so
Dude,
probably made it harder.
Funniest thing ever, I did an unpaid internship.
I don't think I could do that.
Oh, God. I rode my bike there every day. It was so funny. It was right as I turned 21 as well, and I fell on my bike twice on my way to work.
So you were 21, you couldn't ride a bike? Is that story?
It was difficult, man. It was the night after. But
Night after what?
Every night.
Yeah, every night. But that was the thing.
College.
But that was the funniest part was that internship
That was at the library?
What? No, that wasn't in a library. That was a job. That was a part-time job.
Where was this unpaid internship at?
This was at a small web development place out on the west side of Michigan. So right. Yeah. And so I could ride my bike to work every day. And so it was cool. They just taught me they're like, do you want to be a web developer? And I really tried it, and all I just realized, that was my favorite part about internships. I just realized what I sucked at. And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea if I can do this as a real-time job. But I like technology. What other things can I do? And that's just what I learned. That's the thing I took from every internship was what do I suck at and what am I good at? Let's focus on the stuff I'm good at.
That's usually where you want to end up, that's for sure. But I mean,
Of course, if you have like drive, you can get pretty good at most things.
Yeah, that's true.
Dude, the people with like the lack of passion and like are so complacent in life is just like making me laugh now.
yeah. I mean, I don't really get that in my job, but I see it in a lot of people, that's for sure. Because everybody, I mean, like I said, when you work, everybody in my job works commission. It's like,
yeah.
you know, you're running your own business basically. You have to have drive. You have to know it. You have to know that you like this, and you have to, you know, really just work every day. I mean, obviously, like, I do get to slack off quite a bit because it's a client-based industry. So it's like, you know, there'll be a 3-hour stretch where I do nothing, and 3 hours where I'm getting nonstop calls from clients trying to figure out all of their problems all at once. So, I mean, you get a mix of it. But
It's good to want to like be the best at what you're doing, though. So that's like good drive to have, rather than client-based.
Yeah, you
drive.
kind of just
Yeah.
want to have. You want to do something where you have a lot of drive to do it, not necessarily what you're good at off the bat.
yeah,
too.
no, I completely agree. I think
Yeah.
it's something that you enjoy doing. You enjoy what you get, what's given back to you from doing that thing, and then you kind of pursue that and try and get better at it. Want to, you know, obviously make changes in that sort of industry.
But what really is the point of doing something if you're not gonna be the best at doing it?
My favorite thing in the world.
Getting paid.
That is nice.
Being able to like survive is usually pretty good drive.
What is surviving anyway?
And when you reach the top of your field, we'll talk, Kevin.
Yeah, I
Aren't
don't
you supposed
plan
to
on
just
getting
enjoy
there,
and
but yeah.
enjoy doing it?
I do want to be better than the next guy.
That's it.
Yeah, I kind of went in two different directions with my two quotes.
I was
So-
about to say, because like I lose my mind. I'm like, if I'm not the best at something, why even waste my time at it?
I mean, I guess there's different reasons, but
I mean, it's true, but it's like if it's something like
Well, see, what I'm doing right now is so I can be the best. So the other thing I want to do,
oh, what
That's-
is that?
build a building.
Oh, build a building.
build a building.
The boys' building.
Yeah, the boys. Oh my god.
I have the biggest tombstone, one of the biggest tombstones in the world.
That's all buildings are.
Yeah.
They're just big tombstones.
That's why they're all named after people.
God.
They're like, look how much money I made.
Yeah.
They're like, this is mine.
People are living in my gravestone. People work and live
Yeah.
in here.
Yeah.
So one thing that's weird about being the best at something is usually that's not really the goal at
Yeah,
like, a
I mean,
company.
but it's the
weird.
mindset though that's like the
It's
biggest
like
thing.
usually things around being the best,
Yeah.
like your
Well-
personality in the workplace and like knowing people and connections and all
that's
that weird type
That's
of
a whole
stuff.
another thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not really trying to chase being the best at my job ever. I don't know, because I mean, realistically, are you really going to end up there? I mean, I don't think you'd end up there without believing you can.
It's the most pessimistic conversation.
I don't care what any of y'all say. I'm gonna do it.
I mean, obviously, you can't put limit. You
We're
can't
talking
limit
about
yourself,
a mindset, Ryan.
but
Yeah,
you
this
also
is-
have to have realistic goals.
This
and
is
things
why
like that, too.
LeVar Ball is great, because he just screams. He's like, I'm great. My kids are great. Like, no one can stop them. He's like, you're great. They don't know anything besides that mentality. And that's a tough mentality to have all the time, because you're not going to be the greatest all the time. But if you're trying to be the greatest all the time, like you're putting in the effort, like every day.
Well, I don't disagree. I think that mentality is necessary to, grow, pursue things. But I think at the same time, you have to have a list of realistic goals and expectations for those goals. Because without that, you're going to just end up tripping over your own feet, chasing too much at once, So,
You just want to know what you want, what do you want to do, and
yeah.
figure out the steps to do that.
Dude, the weirdest thing ever was the day college ended for me, and I was like, "Oh my god, what happens now?" Like,
It's like
I
whatever
knew,
you want.
that was the scariest thought in the world, though. It's like,
Of course, the most practical approach is I want to do certain things which cost a certain amount of money, so I have to get a job to make that money. How am I going to get that job? What is that job going to be?
I just
Then
spent a
it
bunch
just
of money
goes
on this
down
co-
the tree.
Yeah, then you go, well, I just spent a
Questions.
bunch of money on this college degree, so I
Yeah.
should probably get a job in that field and go from there.
and the funniest thing is like, for some reason weird in my mind, I knew it was never gonna stop. But when college ended, I'm like, am I done learning now for some reason?
You're never
I'm like,
done learning.
Well, I knew that, but like formal education in a classroom had officially
Yeah,
stopped.
formal education, you're done with.
I mean,
Yeah, and it's like, whoa.
it's YouTube from now on out.
yeah, no, it was definitely weird. I guess it wasn't that weird for me because I skipped so much college.
oh my
But,
god.
if you want to go and get on that subject,
Informal education.
but because I mean, I guess realistically, it wasn't that different even because like I said, I didn't go to school. I just went in, and took the tests, got A's. That's how it was.
You
I
did
mean,
what you needed to do.
I did.
to get
I did the
degree.
bare minimum I needed to do to end up with a 3.2 GPA, get a job. But I also taught myself everything. I didn't. Half my teachers didn't
Well,
put
that's
notes
like
online.
what the whole workplace is.
And that's
too,
why I
and
think
that's-
that helped a
yeah.
lot, especially because in my industry, like I said, you have to get a Series 7, a 66. You have to get all these licenses that take, 4 to 6 months of studying. You have to really be able to teach yourself that stuff and be able to just sit down and grind it out. Whereas a lot of people who are so used to the structure of school it's harder for them to transition to themselves, forcing them to do it, rather than just like having everything else, lined up and how they need to do it.
That's why there's the term book smart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
and I even did go to class, and I still feel like I learned a lot more in the past year.
Oh,
and a
yeah.
half
Oh, yeah.
that I've
Oh,
been in the
that's
workforce.
exactly why I'm like.
Yeah.
As soon as I left school, I'm like, oh my god, everything clicks now.
Yeah.
Like, it took me like a month to realize it, like to get used to like a new, not schedule, but a new routine or whatever. And then it like clicked. I'm like, wow, you do get time for yourself. Like, you don't have classes randomly, sporadically through the day. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think I've just learned a lot of things about kind of how myself works, like through doing things like meditating and like just like eating better and just like making my body run better. I feel like that's kind of the core of everything else, and I should have done that first rather than last.
That was the thing like I learned most after graduating was I started to work out. I never felt better in my life.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, I
It
just
keeps
started
your
working
brain
out again
healthy,
recently.
which is
But I mean,
huge.
yeah, I mean, I agree, like completely. Like the person I was when I graduated school and the person I now are such a. I swear I've grown more as a person the last 2 years than I did all of college. Even
Yeah.
you start to really once you're in the real world, you start to really realize you've got real responsibilities. You need to grow as a human being, and like it's growing as a human being first, and then you can kind of get all those things you're chasing. It's not like getting those things that you've been chasing are going to make you the person you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think getting that through your head is definitely something that a lot of people don't do right off the bat, and it's hard to get your grasp on. But I definitely think that it helps every day in workplace stuff, like just being comfortable with who you are and understanding like things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My favorite thing was also learning during these past years is it's a journey. It's not a destination. I'm going to be CEO in 2 years. I was like, I'm an idiot for thinking that. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's 20 years maybe down the line.
yeah, it's something you once again realistic goals within realistic time frames. It's huge.
Unrealistic goals all the time. I want to make $1 million while sitting on my couch doing nothing.
I mean, exactly.
That's
Well,
the
exactly. I remember when I was in
Tomorrow.
college. I mean,
Yeah,
I was in college, and we were joking about how I was like,
Unrealistic.
I'm totally gonna be a millionaire by that time I'm 25, and it's like, oh, I turned 25 in 3 months. Oh shit! Like, didn't really make that happen. So
Oh, man. We got till 30, right? That's
yeah, now
the
we
goal
got till
now.
30.
Yeah.
Just gotta push it back a little bit.
Yeah. Always chasing. Never
And
giving
then
up.
by the time we're 80, our brains will be in robot bodies.
Yeah.
And then we'll live forever.
We'll be like Richard Nixon from Futurama.
This is how our conversations get way off
Yeah,
topic.
that's how they get derailed.
This is great.
It's always Kevin's fault.
Futurama heads.
Found the root cause.
Oh, God.
But no, I guess if I want to tie what we were just talking about too, I guess the other thing I learned through interviewing at a million different places was at first, once again, I like came out of school thinking like I just gotta get a job, suck it up, get some experience, and kind of like I was just trying to be like that yes man that I thought companies wanted me to be, and then I literally decided that I didn't care anymore. I went into interviews. I was just myself. I didn't even prepare. I would just start winging it, and that was the shift where I started getting nothing but job offers. Granted, I didn't take most of them, but I think that was something I didn't realize at first. Was like I always wanted to be what they thought they wanted me to be, and I don't know. Nowadays, companies don't want that yes man. They want somebody who's going to be an individual that they can change things. That's going to actually strive to be better. And they want somebody who's just a genuine human being, not somebody who's going to just tell them exactly what they want to hear every time.
Yeah, because
you know?
genuine human beings don't say yes 100% of the time.
Exactly. So
That's like the thing, though. It's just
And that's
it's
what
like-
you realize once you start working in the real world.
Like
Is that
you-
everyone's a fucking human.
Yeah, it's like you have to own like all your mistakes. And,
How
like,
many professionals have you actually run into?
Oh my god! Like, don't get me
Yeah.
started on this.
Yeah.
Like, oh god,
See, I guess-
professionals. Like, what does that word even mean anymore? Like, when I was like in college, I'm like, oh, the working world will be this crazy place, like corporate America. When I got
And
here, I'm
well,
like,
your
oh,
place is a
we're-
real exception to that, though.
yeah.
well, it's like that's every place I ever worked at.
Like, I want Nerf guns at where I work.
Yeah, I want to shoot someone. It's the best part. It's like, yeah, you got me mad. Bow.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys probably see it on a different scale from that because, like I said, in my industry, once again, everybody who's there and is established, they are professional. You have to be. You're not going to
Well,
make it
You're,
for the
you're,
first
you're
6
in a
months.
client-based.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, the,
profession,
you know,
which is-
the
yeah.
people that don't act professionally, that don't have their stuff together, like, I mean, they can slip through the cracks at bigger companies.
The craps.
But yeah, but where in that industry, it's like you won't make it through, like I said, 3 to 6 months.
Well, it's
You
just
know, if you're not on top of everything you need to be.
It's just I've learned like, do people really care about what they're doing? Do they realize does it have impact on someone's life in the long run? And a lot of people like don't realize that. And it's like once you realize like what you're doing has bigger impact, it's like, wow, maybe I should care a bit more.
Yeah, I just think a lot of people just do the same thing on the same team for like 30 years and they just get caught in a rut and just kind of skate by doing the minimum. I think that's why it's important to kind of switch things up every once in a while.
Of course, if you
Keep
like
it
doing
fresh.
that, then you like doing that.
True.
Yeah.
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 But
Some
then,
people want to get to a certain point and just persist.
Yeah.
Which is what I thought I wanted to do, but then I'm like, no.
No.
Yeah, plateau.
Yeah, the
Wow.
plateau system sounds pretty bad. I think we all can agree on that. Like,
Yeah.
that's not
I mean, but
what-
if you get the income you need, and then you do what you want to do.
you can definitely notice a split between the people who have been doing things for 30 years
Yeah,
that
oh,
like
yeah.
it and the people that have been
Yeah.
doing something for
Yeah.
30 years and don't like it.
Oh, it's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't see myself ever getting stuck in a job that I'm not happy doing and not
Mhm.
enjoying. And it's like, I don't know, like I'll never understand that. I mean, convenience is a scary thing, man. That's what it is. It really is.
Yeah.
When you
Yeah.
see, like I said, people who are in a job they don't like for 30 years and like, well, if I just tough it out for a little bit longer, you
Yeah.
know, I'll be done. It's like, no, I don't know. Like that's not how I plan to pursue my life, and I don't think I ever will.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be in a job that you don't like being in, definitely.
Yeah, it's funny how many parallels there are between like relationships and getting jobs. Convenience is pretty dangerous for both of those.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
convenience. Yeah, no, it's very dangerous in relationships. But I mean, they're all. It's once again, it is still human relationships, just on a different level. You
Yeah.
know?
Dude, that's all life is. Relationships.
Because I mean, when you're getting a job, it's like I said, it's dealing with the different people you work with, whether it is clients or with the people that you work directly under, things like that. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think honestly, like I said, I mean, part of the reason I still work where I work is because of the people I work with, not because of the things my company brings me. Yes, we're a big company, but we're tripping over our own feet 90% of the time, and it's constantly making my life harder. But the people I work with are all interesting, fun-loving people who like actually get that. We're all in the same boat type thing,
Mhm.
So
Well, that's like one of the most powerful things I've learned is like the relationships you have with people and what that brings. Like over these past couple of years, it stood out to me more than any time else. I don't know. Like this realization of like there are people you need to actually trust, and what's your definition of trust with them? Like, do you trust them to like bail you out of jail and be there for you, or is it like I can't trust this guy to get a pencil for me? I don't know. It's just like these are like a lot of thoughts. Like I used to put so much trust, like unwillingly trust in people to just watch it get destroyed, and now it's like I'm not saying I've stopped doing this, but I'm a bit more reserved now with who I say I really trust.
yeah, I could agree with that. I mean, I definitely noticed that too. That you kind of have to understand where your relationships stand with people, and then also kind of make sure that the people that have a positive impacts on your life, the people that are actually there for you, are the ones that you should be more worried about, have higher, I guess, be higher up on your priority list in your life and things like that. And you kind of have to, I guess, some point start weeding people out in a sense. I mean, like especially like at your job, if like somebody keeps letting you down, you stop going to that person, things like that. Just, I mean, I mean, I guess I'm keeping it really general, but yeah.
But like the hardest thing to do as well is give that person feedback. It's like, hey man, you're kind of screwing up, and it's like you gotta word it to like meet their personality type so it actually hits home. Like that's the toughest thing I've learned about is like my way of giving feedback like works really well with me and my family. It does not work in the workplace.
Give us an example.
I can't. I try.
Yeah, that hits on definitely one of the biggest piece of advice I would give to new people in the workplace would be just like doing one small thing for someone who's worked at the company for a long time can go so far. They'll be willing to do anything for you after you just show a little bit of initiative and do one thing for them.
Yeah, and you'll realize a lot of people, most people are like that too.
Yeah.
I haven't ran into anyone who's really the way Charlie was describing.
No, I'm not.
I mean,
saying
there's.
Well, it's just I notice people like it's not even at work. It's people on the daily, like going to stores.
No, that's a
and
whole
things.
different subject.
I like lose my mind. I'm too aware of
People
things
on
going
the daily.
People on the daily. It's like, dude, if someone walks slow in front of me, I lose it.
All right, well, not to derail it, but yes, my biggest pet peeve is when somebody walks slow. I mean, we both have giant strides. We're like 6'3", 6'5", but like it's the worst.
Yeah, God, so fun.
You should just push them out of the way.
Yeah,
That's what I do.
Well, then
Show 'em
people
out.
get mad when you walk by them abruptly.
I mean, I just don't care. I just fly
Especially
past
when
them.
it's like it's a hallway and it's only meant for people going in one direction and coming the other direction, and then you have to go around them, like passing someone on the highway.
Yeah.
You're like, you're fat and walking too slow.
I mean,
Dude, did I tell you guys someone passed me on the left shoulder on I-75? Like, I was going over the speed limit, and they passed me going on the left shoulder.
Oh, I had that happen to me, and someone kicked a rock up into my windshield. It was my mom's leased Escape, and I was bringing it back to her because she needed to return it back to the dealership, and it chipped the windshield.
Oh, man.
Some guy really needed to get around.
they have places to be, man. He must be busy.
If I saw him coming, I would have ran his ass off the road.
Dude, it's so hard
Be
to
nice,
be
Kevin.
patient in life now. Like, that's being patient and having composure when things are really tough.
Well, yeah.
That's all out the window when I'm on the highway.
Different story.
Two different things.
Yeah, people haven't driven in Michigan.
But I think,
God.
but that brings up a good point too, though, is that keeping calm and collected in situations you're not ready for is like a huge factor in every facet of life. I mean, if we want to specifically jobs, yes. I mean, I guess my job more so than most, because one thing I guess I realized too was like you can't go into like a client meeting and put expectations on yourself of like how it's going to go. You put up this wall and then you think like, okay, well, this is how this meeting's going to go. And then the client will say something that, I mean, it never goes that way, you know? And then now you're not prepared because you thought it was going to go one way. And so I guess like staying cool, calm, and collected, being ready for anything and just kind of having that mindset from the start is a huge factor. Like I said, I don't know if you guys do it in your jobs or what, but I have to deal with that every day. And you'll notice real quick when you mess up and you were, you know, like you were expecting it to happen this way, then you're not prepared at all. And then you know, it's just, if things snowball from that effect. And so I think going into any sort of situation with just that mindset of like, let's just wing it. Let's just, you know, go with how it goes and not, like I said, I guess don't put up any walls on yourself.
Yeah, I think it really helps to just be like comfortable with your knowledge base and your skills, and then you just don't really worry about it too much.
Really a good
Well-
thing to know.
Yeah, so
You have to be
it's-
really confident about that stuff too.
Well, that was what I was about to say. It's like there's a difference between confidence and ego, and people get those two so intertwined. Like, it's like you have to be a very confident person that when things don't go that way, it's not a big deal. It's like, take it what it is and just handle it. Like,
Yeah, I think you probably have the most experience with trying to keep yourself calm in these situations.
I lose control all the time. I'm working on this so long, and I'm like, this is how I won't like move up in the real world. Is if like I keep on losing my cool on people, and it's like I don't know why. I just laugh. I'm like, I'm just my biggest stressor in life.
I think that's a good point, though. I think one of the most important things is being able to figure out what you do wrong or what your weakness is and being able to work on that. Because there's so many people that I notice that have just like been working, they're like 55 and they're still just like making mistakes that like I see myself make, and I'm like, wow, you haven't figured this out yet? Come on.
I had something happen today where like out of nowhere, like I was told to do this, and it's like, okay, this has thrown off my whole entire day. And someone tried to ask me a question, and when I get mad, I have a really hard time communicating like my actual thoughts, so I just like lash out at people. And like that was the first time today I think I did it well. I was like, yo, I'm pretty stressed out right now. Like, I can't really communicate myself to you. Like, please give me 10 minutes and I'll be able to talk to you just fine. I'm like, I just need my time. And, like, people honestly respect that more than just being like, wah.
Yeah, that's one thing I've definitely noticed in meetings. It's definitely okay to say, I'll get back to you on that, or like, let me think about it.
Oh, that's like a go-to for
yeah,
a lot
that's
of people.
definitely a huge
That's
go-to.
the best go-to.
But the thing is, though, it's
Pro
like,
tip.
so, yes, there's going to, like, I'll get back to you on that, but there's also, is it, like, owning if you made the mistake or not, and even if you did make the mistake or not, you're just owning the situation, and you're like, I've got it, like, let's move forward. But, like, I see at work, outside of work, everywhere, people are so ready to make an excuse for something else that isn't related to it.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, to kind of cross through what Matt was saying, what you're saying, like, you got to eliminate the ego, because that's what people do. I mean, people love to rationalize mistakes and everything else. It's never their fault. It's everybody else's fault. And if you continue to do that, you never self-analyze, you never realize what you need to change, what you need to do to get better, what you need to, fix in order to be happy and make the things happen that you want to make happen. And so it's just, like I said, kind of eliminating the ego, because we all do it to an extent. I mean, we're all going to rationalize things away. It's never me type thing. But I mean, when you finally do sit down, take like an unobjective look at yourself, I feel like that's where you can really, kind of really make some big strides.
I
So.
still remember like being on the beach and like stuffing the sticks in the stand and going, not my problem. Just like watch it this way. It's like if I just throw enough sand on it, it's not my problem anymore. That's why life is sand, sand is life. Excuses are great sand.
That was deep, Sean.
I don't know, I am a philosopher.
It's a philosopher.
It's a philosopher.
Velociraptor.
Oh, man.
Oh, God. What else? Oh, well, speaking of what you said, have you guys... So, I got a new book I'm reading. It's called Extreme Ownership, and it literally talks all about this stuff. Like, if there was one book... Well, there's a few books I would really recommend to people, but this one is, like, hitting all the nails on the head of, like, people who really want to grow themselves and, like, getting to, like, a self-awareness level. I don't know.
So what else does it talk about?
I
no,
forgot.
I'm not
like,
a big
that's
book
what-
reader.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so it mentions, like, check your ego. And the whole book's talk about extreme ownership. And it's... I've heard this guy before. He's been on Joe Rogan's podcast. His
What
name
kind of
is
ownership? What are you
What's
owning?
his name?
Jocko Wilkin. Or
Okay, I've
Wilco.
seen it.
Yeah. Guy's super cool. He's a Navy SEAL. And this book is about... Basically, each chapter is broken into 3 parts, okay? He was a Navy SEAL during the Iraqi War in the early 2000s. And so he was in the major conflict zone. I can never say the city right because I'm dyslexic, and when I read it, I'm like, I'm not pronouncing it right. But it's called, like, Ramada. I hope I don't insult anyone by how I said it. But he was in this war zone, okay? And he was leading units of SEALs. And this book is about him and his few other counterparts or colleagues and their experiences in the battlefield and how they learn these life principles. And then they talk about that. So the first part of each chapter, how they learned the principle, the experience that they went through in a war zone, how they learned about it. Then the second part is breaking down that principle into real world terms. Like, not from the war zone. It's like, this is how it is applicable in everyday life. And then the third part of each chapter is how they applied it to the workplace and being a leader. And it's really talking about being a leader. And people always think you have to be a leader because you get a title. And the best form of leaderships come from people without the titles. And,
Oh, not to cut you off, but that's actually, I'm reading a book called Stealing Fire, and it does talk about Navy SEALs and the fact that basically it's about flow states and how people utilize them all the time. And one of the biggest places they use them right now is in the Navy SEALs. And part of what they do is they're studying it right now. And so basically a flow state is where you've kind of cut the ego, you've cut everything, and you're only focusing on whatever's happening in the moment. Like if you've ever been driving and all of a sudden you look up and you realize you don't even been driving. Basically, it's being in a flow state is like what your brain would be doing, like while basically you're thinking over here, but your brain is still driving, kind of thing. I don't know, it's hard to describe.
that
But
sounds wild.
one of the things that the biggest place they're doing is Navy SEALs, and the reason for it is they don't have titles. They were saying like there's no chain of command in their units. It's everybody is on the same level. When you break into a house or anything like that, they switch who's leading at different points, and they said like you basically go into a flow state where it almost feels like a telepathic, bind with the other people you're working with. And so basically this book just studies all that, and I found that really interesting just reading about, because everyone's trying to figure out, it's obviously a different sort of psychedelic state that people have been able to get into. I mean, the military is spending something of upwards of $100 million researching this right now. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of goes along with what I was saying about like just getting your head straight and figuring yourself out first of all, because then you can kind of figure out how to get yourself into those modes and like how to calm yourself or cut yourself off when you're thinking about something too much, or
Yeah. One thing that I've found helped, I learned this from a convention, was I don't know, people don't know what they want to do in life, and they don't know what's a top priority for them. And I went through this workshop, and I forget her name is, and it's probably some copyright stuff, but who cares? But you basically get a piece of paper, you divide it into 3 columns, and you write down, in these 3 columns, the headers are no, yes, and hell yes. And you write everything in your life that you feel falls under those columns. The hell yes is for me is stand-up comedy. That's a hell yes for me.
So is it something you couldn't live without, basically?
Yeah, it's
Something you really want to do.
Something you really want to do, or a yes is to me is still skateboarding as well.
It's something you like, but it's not gonna take up a whole bunch of your time.
And then a no is getting stressed out. I don't want to do that, and so that was the thing. Or being stressed all the time, it's a no. So a hell yes would be learning how to deal with my stress. And so she said, and so 20 minutes went by, and she really let us dissect our own lives. And this was a first point of self-awareness for me as well. It's if I ever thought about the no's and yeses and the hell yeses in my life, am I? And then she was all right, now you've got your columns all set. I'm going to tell you something, and it's going to really suck. She goes, if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no, and you shouldn't waste any of your time on it.
what if all that's in your hell yes column is laying on the beach and jacking off?
Well, I don't
Sounds like you need to move to the
Yeah, it sounds like you got some different problems in your head.
You gotta go to which city is that? San Francisco or is it LA? Was that South Park episode that makes fun of that?
It's kind of, I don't know.
Jagging it up.
But I mean, okay. I never thought of it like that, but that's not gonna help you at that point. But maybe if you're doing that all the time, you should really rethink it.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably set a curve where.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, you can get rid of the last part of that. Lay on the beach all the time. Is not
But
bad,
yeah, I
hell
mean,
yes.
yeah, even laying on the beach, I don't know if I'd put under hell yes. I mean, yes, it's a goal.
It depends on who you are.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's
If someone wants to lay on
so-
the beach all the time, you can go do it.
I mean, I guess
But-
I guess the whole point is you got to be realistic when you're filling
But-
it out.
either way, it doesn't matter what you put in your hell yes column, because if you truly think it is a hell yes, you prioritize it, and then you start working towards that goal. That's how I really started doing stand-up comedy, was I really want to do this. And it's oh, I haven't prioritized this one little bit. So then I was time to start writing material. Like, I came up with a whole process flow. I don't have my journal, but, like, I'm, like, super nerdy. So I'm like, I need to understand if I want to come up with good material, how am I going to come up with good material to even get to be a stand-up comic? But if I had put it in the hell yes column, I wouldn't have worked on it. That's how I found out I didn't want to really skateboard anymore. Was like, it was really cool. I got to do that for a while, but the stress level was killing me, and it wasn't a hell yes anymore. So it's like, don't waste your time.
Yeah, there's a lot of things in life like that you've just done forever. So you kind of just feel like you have to do it, but really that's just like a barrier in your mind. You really don't have to keep doing anything. Like, if skating doesn't make you happy anymore, then
and that's the thing.
Don't do it.
That's the thing I've learned as well. It's like a lot of people, you know, like quitting. Like, that's a big deal to people. Like, people don't want to quit something. I mean, we talked about it with relationships earlier. But it's like, it's hard to quit something, but that's the best thing you can do sometimes. It's like, it's this 70-page book actually called The Dip, and it literally talks about when to stick and when to quit. And that's literally, I mean, it's an experiment half the time, what you're doing. It's like, is it really going to pay off? Like, I don't know, it's got some cool graphs in it, and it makes you think about it, but it's like,
it's got some cool graphs.
It's got some cool
I'm
pictures,
so
but yeah.
I like picture books.
To add on what you're saying, though, yeah, I mean, once again, the theme seems to keep coming back to, like, well, it's self-analyzation. Because a lot of people who get stuck in convenience in relationships or in jobs or in, like I said, just hobbies that you don't want to give up, you know, you need to just really sit down and once again just take a look at it and realize, like, is this something that I actually want to keep doing, or do I just feel like I need to keep doing it? Does it add, like, am I still getting enjoyment out of it? Is it still adding positive things to my life, or are there other things that I could be doing that I'd rather be doing? And like I said, that it all comes back to, like, that's writing down, like, what actually matters to you and just actually thinking about it. Because a lot of times people think stuff matters until they're forced to make a decision.
And that's the thing as well. People always say, I have to do something. You actually don't have to do anything.
No, exactly. I've been saying that for years. You have to do nothing. You could literally just do nothing.
Yeah.
You
It's
want
what you
to
want.
do this.
You can go lay on the beach and jack off. That's what you can do. You don't have to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, it
Like,
probably won't work out that well for you.
yeah,
But-
it
in the
probably
long
won't
run.
work out. But
Yeah,
or in the
but-
short run.
I mean,
You might
it'd be
piss a
pretty
few
cool
people
in the
off.
short run. Yeah. Get arrested.
And then
real
that's on
probably
you.
gonna arrest you.
I'm glad this example is being propelled.
But, like, people they're always like, I have to. It's like, no, you've just never prioritized anything else in your life.
Yeah,
Well,
that definitely applies to jobs very heavily. Like, even working at a company for a little over a year, I already, like, kind of, when I don't consciously think about it, I feel like I have to stay there.
Yeah.
But then I think about it and I'm like, no, I could leave.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. For me, it seems really easy to leave because, like I said, I mean, I've told you guys, like, people, like, headhunt in my business all the time. They're like, oh, you've got experience, you've got the licenses. Like, they'll call me. They don't care. They'll call me on my work phone trying to, like, pick me up for, like, to steal me away. So, I mean, like I said, I guess I'm not super tied to where I am right now. But once again, it's one of those things where you do kind of have to realize that there's obviously always options out there. And you need to just keep those on the same level as whatever you're doing now, whereas most people tend to prioritize whatever they're stuck in, and then the other things are, well, they're there, but I don't necessarily think that it's going to work out type thing.
Yeah, this is stupid when I say it out loud, but I really feel like the biggest thing that makes me feel like I need to stay at a job is just, like, feeling like I need to not let people down or something. Like, when a company needs me, just, you know.
Yeah, that's a huge thing with, like, leaving a job.
Yeah, but really, I mean, you got to do what's best for you in the end, so you got to just rip the Band-Aid off sometimes.
And that's the thing. It's like, I mean, that's why I've been reading a lot about in books. Is like, if a company isn't setting up, like, teaching everyone how to do everything and letting people silo, like, no wonder you won't succeed, and, like, people will get into ruts because that's all they've done. Is like, that's their one knowledge and that's their job security. It's like, if people let go of the ego and just be confident in who they are, you know, there's a lot more you can do in life, but it's convenience.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not easy to do that. Like I
Oh,
said,
no.
none of us do that perfectly or even well. I mean, it's just one of those things. But I mean, every day you got to be working at it, trying to make things like that happen. Realize like that you're not stuck here, that you can once again, you don't have to do anything. Like I said, I mean, I took that literally, like I said, in college. I was like, I don't have to go to class. I can go do anything else I want, and then I'll just deal with it later.
As long as you're getting to your end goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's
End
no
goal is a degree
there's no
in
blueprints.
college.
There's no
Like-
blueprints to life, and there's no blueprints to how you're gonna work in that life and achieve those goals. So
Dude,
that's one thing people need to get out of their heads.
Yeah, that was the thing
realistically.
that like got me like after college. Like when I walked across the stage at graduation, I'm like, "Where's my epiphany?" Like, yeah, I'm like, I was pretty sure I was promised one of these.
Yeah, you're like, hey, isn't this a movie? I thought my life was a
Yeah,
movie.
I'm like, my family's here.
So like slow music's supposed to start happening, some nice monologue's supposed to kick in. I'm supposed to just
supposed to
figure it
just
all
get it
out.
all
Your
now.
epiphany starts on your first day of work.
yeah, and it's like, dude, I started on May the 4th, and I've never been happier. Like, May the 4th be with me. Oh my god. What else?
Yeah, hit us with your topics.
Oh man, here we go. Here we go. Struggle is a great thing. That was like my favorite part about college, actually, and why I think I've done pretty well the whole time was because, I mean, I got a really bad GPA. Like, I mean, people are gonna say it's not that bad, but I got a 2.9. Like the only
Pretty bad.
Ooh, judge me, I don't care. Alright, I
Just
started
because
work.
couldn't push
How'd you
above the
even
3.
get a job?
Hey,
Come on, try. Did you even try?
Yeah.
I see. That was the thing. That's what separated me from everyone else. Was I knew I sucked. I'm like,
Hey, but Steve Jobs dropped out of college, so.
so.
Yeah, well, Steve Jobs dropped out of college and then continued to go to classes he wasn't even in.
Oh
So.
yeah.
But that was the thing. It's like, I just like grinded it out. Like that was the thing. I'm like, if I wanna get a job, it doesn't like I just have to put in the work. And like, I remember the one day I remember it so vividly. Is like, it was my fraternity's formal my senior year, and everyone is
how
up.
many struggles were there that night?
Wow. Get out of here. And so they're all up north. They're all partying. And I'm stuck in a computer lab in Grand Valley where I'm like pulled like 36 hours over the weekend and my project still didn't work. And I'm like, I just kept on going to my teacher's office hours and just grinding it out. And that's basically how I passed the class. He's like, well, you failed the midterm, you failed the final, and you failed the project. You barely turned in any of the homework because you didn't know how to do it, but at least you tried. And he's like, you know what? You get a D. And I was like, thank God. Oh God!
He's like, I don't want to see you again.
That was exact. But that was the thing. It was just there were so many of my people in my class though that just dropped it. They refused to like graduate in 4 years because that class was so hard. They just didn't want to do it. I watched half the class drop within the first 2 weeks, and I was like, I have no other option. Like this is the last class for my major. It's my fault I didn't take it sooner. Like,
Yeah, but the cool thing there is probably that passing the class was probably one of the lower benefits of that struggle. It's really like what you've learned there. That
well, that was the thing. It's like if I didn't learn how to do that, it was like I would have just think everything. I'm entitled to everything. Like, you know, I'm entitled. Like a lot of people go around thinking, like, my favorite question now to ask people is like, do you think you earned that? It's like, did you? Like, what impact did you provide that really makes you think you've earned that?
That's a really good point to bring up because I don't know about you guys, but I came out of college thinking like, oh, I've got a degree. Now everybody wants to hire me. Like, I deserve a job. And then you start to realize like, no, there's actual marketable skills that you need to have to get a job in any industry. And if you don't have them, people don't care. They're like, oh, you have a college degree? So does everybody now.
Well, that's how
Like,
businesses work.
And so that's one thing that, like I said, definitely hits you real quick because you think you're just owed this stuff. And I mean, I don't know. I guess I didn't realize it right away because I was just like, winging my way through college thinking it'll work out. And then you start to realize once you're trying to find a job that, you have to be somebody that the company actually wants to hire and they think they can actually mold into something that's, going to help them propel like themselves. So
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah,
that's-
a company hires you to save them money. So if you don't have the skills to save a company,
I don't know if it's actually save them money, but more so make
But, I mean,
them
that's
money.
like the whole
Yeah.
general point.
You
of,
make more money than you take away
Yeah.
from
Yeah,
them.
So
Dude, I mean, the biggest thing that, as well, is just like ownership, like owning who you are during these interviews as well. It's like my favorite part was like people ask me super technical questions. I'm like, yep, I don't know that. Like, nope, don't know. Not gonna lie, I don't know that. Like,
Yeah.
this is just who I am. Like, I'm not gonna BS you and find out that I'm not a developer because I'm not.
Yeah, that's weird that you say that because I feel like struggle for me is never really been on the technical side. It's more just like getting myself out there and doing things like that and, you know, being comfortable with myself. And I think one thing that helps a lot is just forcing yourself to do random stuff. Like a good example would be this, like when your crazy friend asks you to do a podcast, you just kind of do it.
Crazy
So
friend.
Why am I the crazy one?
Do you really have to ask?
yeah, do you?
Oh God.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, struggle. I mean, I think, like I said, I mean, it definitely hit me hard as far as like, you know, work life coming out of college and things like that. But then there's also, I mean, just other things like you said, like you kind of just have to grow as a person, no matter what your issue is or like whatever you have trouble doing. And I mean, like I said, I mean, I've mentioned this to Matt plenty of times where you just, once you start to push past all those things that you have in your head about like why you don't want to do these things, you start to really like learn a lot about yourself, but just grow as a human being. Like you start to, people need to stop taking negative situations as bad and start to realize like, well, no, the situation ended up not like I wanted it to, and now I have a bunch to learn off of, and you know, push myself forward so the next time I can change that, things like that.
I mean, you guys know I'm super weird with all like my sayings around my room and stuff like that. And like that's the one thing that I have is like event plus response equals outcome. You can't control the event. Number one thing you can't control in the equation is the event.
Yeah, most events are uncontrollable.
Yep. But you control the outcome by your response.
Right.
You totally control the outcome based on your response
You
to
can
a
control the
situation.
next event.
Oh my God.
I don't know. what we're
You,
talking
I don't
about.
like where Kevin's going. I don't like where he twisted my thing. This
already
is the
semantics
conversation
of
I wanted. But like that's the thing. It's like I mean, it's the ownership of the situation. If you just own it what it is and just be ready to let go of predictability and just own the event and be ready to respond in the correct possible way, or even if it doesn't go correctly, you learn from that and try and apply it in the future, then you're winning. Like, people are so afraid to make mistakes, and like, number one thing, well, that's why I learned with a 2.9. I could make mistakes all day.
Making mistakes is the only way you're gonna learn. You're never gonna learn, you know, like I don't, like I said, once again, my industry is different, but like everything I learned between licensing, college, even nothing of it mattered until it was like on the spot experience learning. You know, you have to start messing up, you know, say things terribly, word things wrong, you know, give people the wrong information, then you start realizing that's when you start to actually gain and learn from things. You know, it's not about like, oh, well, I'm prepared for the situation, I think about it enough, I'll be fine. It's like, no, you learn by doing, and that's the only way to do it.
Yeah, you talked about ownership again, and that kind of just sparked something that I've been thinking about lately is I think one thing that makes you stand out a lot at a new job is just like kind of thinking about things on your team or in your organization that you don't necessarily have to think about for your job. Like, for example, I'm a technical person, so all I really need to do is code and, you know, write the code and give it to the business people. But once I started actually putting time into paying attention to like the project management side and like deadlines and the bigger picture and the whole organizations and how things work, I think that really makes you stand out, especially to the people who are higher up, because that's what they know and that's what they care about.
That was deep.
It was.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things. Once again, it's just showing initiative. It's just actually caring about whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I don't know, like I said, I'm always one of the people who, like, even when my boss brings me things, or like we're just trying to figure out like a life insurance policy for things like that, I'm the person who's like, well, why is this happen? Why is this? I want to know every part of what I'm dealing with always. I never want to. I don't like being caught off guard. I like understanding the inner workings of everything I'm dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, once again, I think that kind of applies to everybody's position. Any job you're working at, it's like you should want to know every bit of it and kind of all the other parts that maybe you don't deal with on a day-to-day basis, but about why you're doing what you're doing and why that's going to help this to help that to, you know, make the company bigger, better, innovator, like whatever it needs to be.
I remember doing that at like when I worked at the Family Buggy. It's just like a dishwasher. It's like if I don't like, why do I clean plates? It's like so people can eat. It's like if no, we can't be a business unless you clean the plates. And it's like some of the most important people in the restaurant are dishwashers. And it's like, I don't know. It's just like if you realize there's like a bigger picture to what you're doing, it's so much like you realize that you're providing value instead of just getting a paycheck.
Yeah, and it's easy, like in my position, to just kind of block that out and not even really think about it. So it helps for me to sit down and consciously think about it.
Yeah, I mean, mine is obviously because I'm dealing with clients. I'm helping them figure out, you know, retirement, like every bit of their financial plans. I mean, yes, it's like instantly rewarding when you finally get to help those people with things. But I also come from an industry where it's once again commissioned, it's sales based. So at the same time, in the back of your head, you're thinking like, I have to close this client. We have to move forward to this. But it's really nice when everything's all said and done. You realize like these people are always better off. Like now they finally got things in order. They're finally realizing, like, hey, like maybe I haven't been doing things right for a long time, and now it's time to change. And so I mean, once again, it's I think finding a place where you can not only see the bigger picture, but want to be a part of the bigger picture and change things for the better is a huge part of like finding a place you want to work or an industry you want to work in.
Why am I getting stared at?
It's your
I
podcast.
don't have anything to add.
Yeah, that was next level, Ryan. Hot damn.
Hot shit.
Hey, you gotta have cool sayings, or you don't have a like.
Yeah, you should start coming up with some catchphrases.
Howdy doody.
Let's cut that one out.
I think you should put it in the beginning, actually.
Yeah.
Howdy doody.
Howdy doody,
everybody.
everyone. Welcome to the Frick Squad show.
I like it.
Oh my god. What about? Well, we talked about.
I like how before every next topic, Charlie says, "What about?"
Yeah.
What
this?
about? Hey, I'll take this as feedback.
Yeah.
I will make sure this doesn't happen the next time around.
Have you gone back and listened to the other ones you've recorded?
Yeah.
Wait, how many other ones have you recorded?
One.
Oh, the other one.
Gotcha.
Okay, I thought there were a couple, but yeah, I feel like that's a huge thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, that's like the toughest part about doing stand-up is like having to record myself and listen to that. It's
I
like,
can't even imagine. But
Oh,
I mean,
like-
that's like once again where you get the most growth out of it because you start to realize like all these little things that you're doing wrong, or in the moment you don't even think about it.
It's like, damn, how many times do I say like?
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Or, like, do I smack my lips every second? Or my favorite part now is watching other comedians' skits and like. Or like some on Netflix and watching their nervous ticks, and they're like in the Dave Chappelle one, he like rubs his shirt.
Yeah,
He does it the whole time. He's like, well,
You see all their like little mannerisms that bug people. Like, I mean, I always get bitched at my job because I spin my pen like in my fingers and stuff like
Spin
that.
everything in your
Yeah,
hand.
how do you not?
I
have
just
a fidget
always have to be
spinner?
fidgeting with something.
You don't even have ADD.
It's just I don't even know.
Maybe that's why Ryan doesn't have ADD. Is that he's always
keeps
been
my
spinning
mind
on the phone.
keeps my mind at ease. But yeah, it's the same thing. Well, like I said, I mean, I guess in my job too, what I learned was just the way you say things has such a huge impact on people
God.
in general. Like, I guess as like a kid, I never realized that, or even just like as a young, like when I was 20.
Kids don't realize anything.
I mean,
so.
even when I was like 20, 21, I didn't think about the way I said things. I just said it in a certain way, and that was just the way I got used to saying it. And then you have to start actually, changing the way you speak to people depending on the person. And it can really, that's when words have the most impact, when you can finally just little things too. Like when you say like children instead of kids, like you have any children, it just little stuff like that starts to actually have an impact on the way people view you as a professional or as just a person. I mean, obviously it changes too with like personal relationships because I mean, I've got a work face I put on and I've got a life face I put on.
Yeah.
But I think finding a good mix between those two is a huge thing, and letting them cross every now and then isn't the worst thing.
Yeah, well, being able to read people is definitely a good thing to have in the workplace.
Oh, it's huge.
Well, yeah, you're dealing with people every day.
It's
Yeah.
like knowing how to like. That's the thing is like.
And especially with you, with clients, too.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's like you have
I
to
don't know how
when-
many
that's a
myriads
whole
of people
different-
you have to
Oh yeah,
read.
I mean, and a lot of
Use
it
that
too
word right.
because I'm the digital advisor. It gets harder to read people because I don't get to read their facial expressions half the time.
Dang.
So a lot of times you're just trying to read in how they say things on the phone and little just different things like that, and it makes it just that much harder to
Yeah.
really get a good grasp on people. But I think doing it every day, all the time, definitely is helped me out in that aspect for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have to know when to call someone. You have to know when to email someone in a certain situation. You have to know when it's appropriate to go to their desk.
Yeah, and you're just more efficient when you know how people function and like how to work around
Yeah.
you know, people.
Work around that.
Work around them, work with them.
Work around with them. We all see we got a little insight on Kevin's job.
Yeah, Kevin's just like slithering like a snake around.
He's like, how can I
through the
talk to
lane.
the least amount of people at work?
Yeah.
There's definitely days when.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's,
my
why
goal.
you have
Dude,
headphones.
well, that's the thing. Funniest thing I just did, all right? Instead of buying some fancy noise canceling headphones, I like have Bluetooth headphones, but I can't always work and listen to music. Like, I'll get distracted, and if
Yeah.
I'm not
Oh,
wearing
yeah.
headphones, people are gonna come talk to me. So I went to Home Depot and bought what hardware earmuffs
Oh, you
or
bought like the
protective earmuffs.
Yeah, the protective earmuffs.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, they're Bluetooth. Like,
So now you just wear those, sit in silence. And just
earmuffs.
know
You're
what's
fooling nobody.
Yeah, you're
they're
like,
like,
they're all
no.
like, what is on his head?
Yeah, they're like, yeah, those are gigantic. I'm like, I can't hear you. Like someone, like that's when the Nerf guns are cool because I'll be in the zone, and then like someone's been screaming my name for 20 minutes, and like they've been pinging me, but it's on my other screen, and I've just been looking at this one screen, and then all of a sudden, bam, Nerf dart, and it's like, who shot at me? And then it's like, oh, I was rude and didn't respond.
But yeah, to add on to that too, what like even dealing with people where you work, but also with a lot of clients. Like, I mean, I guess I definitely changed the way I talk to a blue collar client as compared to somebody who's extremely wealthy. And I mean, I think that's a huge part too, of just everyday jobs. Like, I mean, once you get to this point where you stop, I mean, one thing I notice a lot of advisors is like when somebody doesn't have a lot of money or they're not well educated, the advisor will start talking down to them real quick, and they don't even realize it. That's just how they're used to talking to clients because they're used to working with more wealthy individuals, things like that. And I think being able to change how you interact with people. I mean, some of my best clients are like I said, they don't have a lot of money, but I can be super relaxed around them. I don't have to act completely professional all the time, and they prefer it that way because, like I said, most of the people calling them, trying to get them as clients, aren't doing that. They're just they'll write them off real quick. And so I think that's a huge point just to like think about is like how you're dealing with different people. And I'm not trying to say to be fake. I'm just trying to say like you do have to realize who you're dealing with and who you're working with all the time and understand that.
Do you have your like system where you test the waters, where you figure out like what people are like?
Yeah, you
I
say
mean, you
some
definitely-
touchy subject,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're like,
I
did I
mean-
touch the line?
And then you-
Generally, I try to stay away from any touchy subjects. Like I definitely don't bring
No,
up
but then
politics.
you can
at all.
figure out how.
One of my coworkers did bring up politics in a meeting, and it's like you're really you're just trying to throw gasoline on that fire real quick, aren't you?
It's like just talk about the weather.
Yeah, I mean, small talk. I
But
mean,
do you talk about politics with your clients?
I've never talked with politics on clients. I never will.
Do you like get
I
up
talk
and
about
walk
something-
around when you're on the phone with
that
people?
would add value
Like,
to
you
Some
like
of
talking
my
to
some of my
clients.
clients I talk to about cars because that's something I'm passionate about.
Okay.
They're passionate about, and finding common likes like that is really nice because, like I said, the relationship between like a financial advisor and a client shouldn't be purely fiscal. It should be like you're somebody who trusts me because I know what I'm doing. I'm a professional, but we're also like have a relationship almost as like friends. It's like we kind of relate in the same manner that
Yeah,
way too.
you would wish that more professional relationships would be like that.
Yeah, and it's hard to, I mean, with certain clients, it is hard to
Yeah.
relate to them because we come from two different walks of life, but you definitely try to understand their like situation and things like that.
Yeah, that's why the realtor on the house that I just got was great because
Yeah.
she was just like a normal person.
Yeah, and
she
she-
didn't
she
treat
wants
me
you-
like
and
a
she-
client.
It's the
You
biggest thing is
have
she's not
a
afraid to
house.
show that she's a
Oh,
normal
yeah.
person, That's what so many people are afraid of doing.
Yeah.
They're like, they try to think that they need to be professional in all situations, and a lot of times that's not the right thing to do. Yes, there are situations where you need to be professional about But I think finding that good balance too is just
Matt's seen me at work and how I get unprofessional. Like,
Oh yeah.
I walk around the floors like screaming "hell yeah" and things like that. Like, how's everyone doing? Like, people ask me what I'm doing each day. I'm like, raising hell and causing trouble.
well, yeah. I mean, that's like you get off the phone with clients or clients are in the office. It's like you see these advisors just completely flip. Like I said, there's a moment where you see the flip change and they just start acting like clowns again. They're just normal people. They like having fun. It's really interesting to see that. But I mean, having a good professional and life face, I guess, are two positive things. Charlie doesn't really have to because he gets to wear like jeans to work. So
This is what I wore today.
Well,
it's so funny.
Most of us here get to wear jeans to work.
Yeah, you're the only one.
that's bullshit.
Yeah, welcome to finance, Ryan.
Suits for days.
That's why I work in technology. Is jeans to work.
Dude, the coolest place I worked at, like that the volunteer unpaid internship I did, dude, they had a fire pole in the building. So it's like
Are you sure it was a fire pole?
I was gonna say that.
it was a fire, yeah, because these
It
guys
went up to the second floor.
Remember, it was a web development place,
Okay.
so it went because all our desks were on the second floor, but the kitchen and restroom were on the bottom floor. So you would ride the fire pole down.
How many times a day would you have to take this fire pole?
You didn't always have to take
Oh,
the
okay.
fire pole, but I mean,
There
yeah,
are stairs, Kevin.
Yeah,
But there weren't like bathrooms on the second floor.
No, there were
Every
no
time you had to go to the
bathrooms.
bathroom.
Yeah, every time you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go to the bottom floor.
And so
And-
you could take the stairs or the fire pole.
You could take either. You could actually take either one set of stairs or the other set of stairs, or take the fire pole.
Why wouldn't everyone just take the fire pole to go to the
Well, some people.
Yeah, so there might
You
have
know.
been some weight limits on that fire.
I don't.
bathroom? Oh, the
I'm not
circle's
gonna
not, too
say.
not big enough.
I mean, I was gonna say athletic ability, but
Athletic ability. Yeah, that's what we'll leave it at. Athletic
Yeah,
ability. was
it's
holding some
like-
people back.
but it was super cool. Like, that was like the funniest thing ever. That was like, there's a fire pole. No one cared. Like, everyone was in shorts. Like, we wear flip flops at work.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I think finding like a good workplace that has fun, that has people that are worth interacting with, is a huge thing. I mean, like I said, watching some of these
I met
advisors
John.
completely. Yeah, I mean, watch them flip. I mean, we actually apparently like our Christmas parties used to get so wild that they banned us from having them. There's one this year again though, but like when I first started, they told me they haven't had one in like 5 years because they like got banned. So I
Time
mean,
to
like,
get Ryan
like I said, there's
fired.
definitely people like that who just make the work more enjoyable because they're enjoying it. They're happy. They're, go lucky type of things like that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, having a fire pole it probably was a pretty cool place to work.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's one big key to having a successful workplace.
Well, yeah,
Can't
happy
talk right now.
employees.
Well, yeah, you just have fun with everyone you work with. And that's
Mhm.
huge.
Yeah, we bring
course you have to
footballs
find
to our meetings.
Yeah, and I mean, all of
Yeah.
us get to hear it from, like I said, Eric, our buddy who works at like the worst place of all time, where he said everyone's office door is open, all you hear is clicking all day. Can you imagine working? And he works 60 hours a week. That's all you hear. No, everybody is 100% professional the whole
work
time.
60 hours a week?
Yes.
That's the thing I'm learning is like a lot of people do not work 40 hours a week anymore.
I mean, I
Yeah.
told him to leave right away. I was like, you can find a job that'll at least pay you to work overtime. But, I mean,
Well, I mean, that's what salary.
speaking of
salary.
convenience, he's gotten stuck in convenience,
He
Luckily,
lives
at least-
in East Lansing.
At least now, like I said, he's looking for a new job. He's realized that this is not what he wants to be doing. And I think at least that's a good step in the right direction,
Yeah.
Because I don't know, me personally, if I was in an office where nobody talked, nobody made jokes, nobody had fun, everyone was just the work we got to do, we're just going to do it. And then nobody even spoke. Like, I don't know, I couldn't do that.
I'd get fired.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
how you
probably,
get
honestly,
trained.
we'd all probably get fired pretty quick.
Yeah, we're all loud.
Or we
people.
would have left.
Oh,
Really
yeah, we
quickly.
wouldn't have.
Yeah, we just walked in and walked out. Like that scene in Parks and Rec where the guy like always gets hired and then he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to quit on you within like 20 minutes
Yeah,
on
he's
the
like,
job.
this isn't gonna work.
Yeah, he's like, this is too good. Like he leaves.
Yeah.
What else?
So I mean, I guess what else?
Shut up.
But
I'm
I guess
working on
if
this.
you want to take something away from that, it's that once again, the people you interview with, you should definitely try and get a read on and kind of figure out, because those are the people that you're going to be working with directly. And if a place seems like it has, a good workspace that's not almost slave labor like, then yes, that's somewhere you probably want to work with. If it seems like someplace you're not going to be able to enjoy yourself at, then you probably don't want to work there. So
But so a lot of people, I feel, miss this opportunity is at the end of interviews, they always ask, do you have any questions for us? And if it's like a real place you want to work at, ask them how they got their job. Like, that's what I've done before. And like one guy was like, I'm a mathematician. I'm like, how did you do this? He's like, I don't know. I was just. I'm like, okay.
oh my God, that's a great point, because I always ask what the day-to-day work life is like.
Yeah,
I ask them
generic questions.
specifically why they like working there. And I actually had a guy one time sit there for about 5 minutes after I asked him. I was like, what's your favorite part about working here? And he was sitting there and he goes, I honestly couldn't tell you one thing I like about working here. He's like, no one's ever asked me that. And I was like, why are you telling me this? He's like, because I'm probably gonna quit. And I was like, what? He didn't say it in that many words, like I'm gonna quit, but that's what he was basically saying. He's like, well,
This was
I can't
a job
think of
interview?
Yes, I broke his brain by asking that question, because he was like, I guess no one ever asked him why he likes his job, and he was just sitting there like, I don't like my job.
Like, so he was like 5 minutes, like, so it's
He
quiet.
was really
like,
sitting there quietly, and I was like, is this guy gonna answer? And he's like,
I can't believe he just didn't hang up on you.
no, it was like in person.
Oh.
I was like in the office.
Oh, that's even weirder.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed with interviews is like the quicker you can just get off topic and start talking about cool stuff, the better you have at getting a job.
Oh, for sure. If you can
show
be
him your
personable
character.
with that
Yeah.
person,
yeah.
I think that's a huge factor. I mean, that's what's going to matter.
Especially if that's like the environment that they're working in, and
Yeah.
that's the kind of person they're looking for too.
Yeah.
If you have the credentials, of course, too.
Yeah. But
Well,
they're gonna want to work with
tonight-
somebody.
I mean, if you have the stuff on paper, most people can be taught
Well,
the things they
That's
need
the
to
thing. You
learn.
might not even need the stuff on paper if you're personal enough at the interview. They actually like you. I mean, like we said, none of us have
I mean, but
really
you can be
used our
personal.
degrees that much in the degree.
I
You can like
use
relate
my
with someone
degree.
personally
Yeah.
and like still suck at like learning how to do things.
Well,
and
yeah,
doing a
but I mean,
job
it's
and-
very hard for them to tell that you're.
Right, but if you
sucking
have
at
like
anything.
those few things on
Yeah,
a resume.
basically, it's just that
You
the
gotta-
interview. Honestly, the interview is going to matter a lot more than what your resume looks like.
yeah,
that's for
yeah.
Sure.
Well, I mean, if you get the interview, then
Yeah, the resume is
Then the
just there to
resume's
get
already
the
good.
interview, and
Yeah.
then you can finally just show them who you actually
yeah,
are.
because the interview is like for in person. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's like yeah. Who'da thunk?
Who'da thunk? I love conducting interviews. My favorite question to ask people during interviews: what's the mistake you're most proud of? And then they're like, bah. Yeah, and they're like, I'm like,
They're like,
"You
I don't
never
make
thought of
mistakes."
that."
I put those
Yeah,
in the
and
back
then
of
I'm
my
like, I will
mind.
never hire you. Like, if someone says they never make mistakes, I'm like, you're a liar. and you admit, straight up, you lied. Like, you're lying to me during this whole interview.
That's a hard question though.
Yeah,
the
that is a
biggest
hard
mistake I ever made was never making a mistake.
He's like, I've never learned
That's like
anything in my life.
like the other bullshit thing. Like
Yeah.
my greatest weakness is, or what was that? What's that one?
My greatest
Strength.
My greatest strength is my weaknesses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or no. It's my greatest weaknesses are my strengths or something like that.
Yeah, well,
I'm
Like-
strong at everything.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a people person. It's
Oh,
my
yeah.
weakness.
I'm
mean-
too organized.
I can't even imagine the bullshit that some of these people have to hear every day in interviews. It's got to be unreal.
Yeah, well, because especially like if you can like be someone that's not a copycat in an interview, an interviewer will notice that.
Well, yeah.
Especially with how many interviews have you conducted?
Me?
Yeah.
Personally? Oh, God.
Because you're the only one here that's interviewed anyone, I assume.
Really?
I mean, you could
Yep.
argue
I didn't even know you interviewed
Yeah.
people
Oh.
until 10 seconds ago.
Oh, yeah.
Tons.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be over 15.
So I mean, and you've seen the patterns, and have you seen patterns in
Oh,
the
dude,
way
it's-
interviews are conducted,
it's
with the way
so
people answer questions?
Yep. There's always, the generic responses.
Yeah,
And-
generics don't get noticed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
generic
Well, that's-
answers don't. Well, because if
That's how
it's
you have to
not
be
if
yourself.
it's not
in an
real,
interview.
then they're not going to pay attention to it. Most of
Right.
what ends up being generic is usually a bunch of stuff they read
Dude.
online to prepare for that
right.
interview.
Of course, it's hard because
So-
you're very nervous about
Well,
this
yeah.
interview.
And
but-
that's the thing. It's it's all based on your company's culture
Yeah.
and things like that. You're looking.
you have to know where you're trying to get hired by too. Yeah.
But you also, when you're doing interviews, you have to know the direction the company wants to head. Like, you have to really vet these people out because they might. So, one of these things I've read from 2 books recently, Good to Great and Built to Last, was a a lot of companies, great companies, don't hire people for a particular job. They just want the people that meet their culture on their bus. Mm-hmm. That's all they want. They want them on their bus. They don't care what seat they sit in.
Yeah, really. That's why like companies who have kind of a crappy culture are gonna struggle in finding good talent.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. It's just like but the thing is though, great companies go bad when they start to compromise on that culture. Like they
Yeah, what do you mean?
So this is the thing that I saw through one of my business travels was I got to go watch one of our competitors in person. They invited us. They invited us to come look how they did business. And the thing that got me was their training process. Their training process was they would start out of a class of like 24 people, okay? About 3 months long.
What were they training?
I
Like, was
don't
this
want to
all
get...
one job?
It's all one job,
Because I
one
think
role.
about like my training process, and it's just self-learning, individual kind of stuff.
It kind of is, but like this is more a cut and dry process.
Okay,
Like,
training for groups.
yeah, training for groups, like it's a pretty cut and dry thing. It's
Yeah.
like they give you a basic toolkit,
Yeah,
and then they'll give you different scenarios, and they want to see how you apply that toolkit to those scenarios. And so they literally, if you didn't meet their culture, like
this is like an interviewing process.
this is a training, so you're
Yeah, they're
getting
in
paid.
training.
Yeah, so you're getting
Oh,
paid.
they're
the
kind of,
full
it's kind of like onboarding almost.
Yeah, it's onboarding, but it's like it's boot camp for the
Okay.
military. But at this
you
this
can
is
get
how
cut after this.
they were cutting people. They're
Ah.
like they're like you are great. You would be great somewhere else. Like you just like
Let them down easy.
yeah, it's like for us to move forward, you not meeting our set things. And so they literally brag about their retention rate. Like they're like maybe 10% of the class gets through. So 3 people or something like that. I did really bad math there, but I don't care. and so like maybe 10% gets through. So 3 people starts out 24 and 3 people. And that's it. They won't compromise. And then when they hit the floor, like they are all set and running and they are just destroying the competition. But that's just who they look for. Like this company does not compromise. And so when they're interviewing and doing these trainings, they're not going to wait. They're not mad that they took 2 months to figure out you weren't what they were expecting. They're not mad about that. They're always ready to cut the tie as long as they don't meet the culture. And that's not saying that person couldn't come back if they met the culture and the vibe, but like that was just how that company ran, and that company is a great company.
Yeah.
And that's just how they work. And it's like there's a lot of companies, they just try and hire people on.
Just like they look for technical skills, kind of. Or...
They look for resources. They look for quantity
They look for
instead
the
of
best.
quality. Yeah. Or it's even, that was a thing my company did with me. Honestly, it was an experiment. They took a bet with me. They're like, let's give an internship because he's got like a lot of good stuff, but there's some things that are kind of, would say otherwise. Let's see how he does. And that I stood out because like of my other skills. But if I,
And that's why like internships are great for companies. I mean, that's like a
and that's what
3
internships
month,
are.
3 month interview
Yeah.
for like a full-time position.
Yeah,
That's
it's
how I got
basically
my
like it's
job.
a trial process. Hey, do you
Yeah.
actually want to have this guy working here? Because I mean, an interview can only tell you so much.
Right.
Like, so.
And you
that's-
get like your most valuable like employees, I feel, from those types of situations.
And that's why I really love the company I work for now. It's like I do get to do because they I started as an intern. I'm like I got to care a lot more. It's like this job, like these people, put themselves out there for me. They put a lot of trust in me. Let me build up that trust bank with them. Like instead of just making withdrawals and eventually not getting a job, it's like
Yeah.
I took every moment for that what it was. But it's all about. But that's what Good to Great and Built to Last are. It talks about how great companies are great, and they're like they don't sacrifice on their cultures. They know who they are. They'll always do that.
Yeah, I don't interview people, but I work with a lot of new hires, and I would definitely pick the new hires that I would pick a new hire who is technically weaker but is really hardworking and a personable person over someone who's technically very strong.
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, I feel like that's kind of how you have to go about it as far as from a company standpoint too. I mean, once again, Charlie's like saying like, oh, and you have that culture. It's about like you being able to fit into the culture, be part of that company. It's not about like, oh, I'm the best at this, and so I'm going to make us better. Well, you can be the best, but if you're not actually working, you're not working hard enough, you're not actually trying to propel this company, you're just trying to go, okay, well, this is done, I'm done. I'm going to walk out the door at 2 o'clock in the afternoon every day, my work is done. Like, that's not...
Sounds like someone I know.
We're not going to get started on that.
But like the thing I also like about that is when you have a culture like that and you know you can trust anyone, there's a level of like synergy that comes from that. And it's like we can like, because I know you have the same like mindsets and things like that, look, what you and I can do together is greater than anything we could do separately.
Oh, good point. Perfect point. I mean, that's exactly what the whole point of the company culture is. It's like, hey, like we're going to get a bunch of like-minded people who are all very passionate about whatever this is, and we're going to, utilize that rather than, like, I mean, not to, like, I mean, disparage the big companies out there, but, like, once a company hits a certain point, it's hard to do that.
It is.
And they start to just hire whoever they can because they've got deadlines, things need to be done. And that's like what you were saying, there becomes a point where it's a transition, and getting past that transition and still keeping your company culture is huge. I think Dan Gilbert was actually one person saying that. He was saying that, like, it's not about getting big and becoming like a multi-million-dollar company. It's that transition from becoming like a multi-million-dollar company to a multi-billion-dollar company. The companies can never make it's so hard to keep who you are, keep what your culture is about, and then continue to just have that growth. Because most people get to that point, realize that they can't sustain it doing it the way they've been doing it, and they end up changing everything about the company, and then that's when things go sour real quick. So,
And like one of the things with that is like people will start to sacrifice the short term for the long term all day. Like people are so ready to make a quick buck instead of like, being patient and waiting 3 months.
Doing things right the first time.
Yeah, like
perfect example.
Band-Aids, things like that. That stuff never works. It's Band-Aid fixes.
Yeah.
Stuff. Not like
cutting
Band-Aids do work.
Yeah, just rip it on Band-Aids.
Yeah, those things no.
No, there's no point.
Yeah, that's what you do when
But-
you sell a house. You put Band-Aids all over everything. and then
It's
sell
called
it.
paint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning.
I mean, I see that all the time with my clients individually. You see these people who, never saved any money for retirement. Some of them are making, upwards of $250,000, and yet they're spending every penny they've got. They think they'll be fine, though.
Dude.
It's like they've got 10 years to retirement. They've got a year's worth of retirement money in their retirement accounts. It's like, guys, like, you have a year's worth of income here. You're not going to be okay. Like, you have to change the way things are rather than getting stuck in this hole. And it's really interesting to see how people view it, because they don't think there's a problem there. But once again, if they had just done things right from the start,
Yeah, and there's-
and taken the time to recognize this, then maybe they wouldn't be in this problem. But
There's people that like don't learn that in the first place.
well, yeah,
which
like it
sucks.
And that's-
exactly. It's just doing things right the first time and
Like-
making sure you got it done right is how you actually end up in where you want to be.
But it's like getting that exposure or that awareness on those issues. And
It's also hard if you like try to like make it like someone aware about something and they don't take the advice.
Oh,
And
it's
that's
well, that's my job every day. It's just like I said. I hate saying it like that, but there becomes a subtle point where I don't like using the word manipulation, but you have to sometimes get these people to realize, because you telling them most of this stuff, like, hey, you're not going to be okay. Like, your financial life is not in order.
Well, it's
it doesn't get
inception.
anywhere.
It's inception. You're
yeah,
making
exactly.
them
It's
come
inception.
to
You have to make
realize
them come to the realization that, hey, this is an issue.
Well,
Like,
that's like what we talked about earlier on, like how you have to word things to specific people. God, I can't say the word. Don't make fun of me.
how you word things.
But it's
But-
how you word things, and that's the thing in life is like you can't tell people to do anything anymore. You can't. You have to word it, and it sounds bad because it's like manipulation, but it's not. It's
It's
just like,
subtle things, because, like, I mean, in the end, it's what's best for these people. But I mean, people don't always know what's best for themselves. Then, like I said, they're stuck in ruts, and so yeah, it all comes back to, like I said, how you word things, how you do all of that, how you present yourself, and then making them realize that, hey, there's an issue here. I need to change what I'm doing. I mean, it's the same thing with, once again, going back to like what you have to do for yourself is kind of having like an outward look at yourself and trying to figure out what you need to change, what you need to do to become a better person, become that person you want to be.
Yeah. That was one thing my mom said to me one time is, like, when I was struggling, she was like, if you weren't Charlie Fricker, what would you tell Charlie Fricker to do? Like, have you ever thought about it, like, from an outside perspective? Because we're always good at giving everyone else advice.
Oh, yeah.
But we all suck at taking our own.
Always. And that's
Yeah.
just human condition at that point, you know? Like,
Yeah, that's why I think it's important to kind of like you do, Charlie, like put up notes in your room or like look at a list every morning or do stuff to remind yourself of those things that those epiphanies that you've had over the years, because it's easy to just forget them and kind of go back into your normal.
Yeah, keeping lists is definitely key, like a key piece of advice.
Yeah, journals all day.
Like even if you don't do anything about them, but they're at least written down and in like, you know, physical form, and you can go back on them and see them.
Because even when you're
that's
writing
why I
things
don't close
down,
tabs. And then, so once in a while, I'll go back through. I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to do that, or like I was looking at this. I want to finish learning about this or something.
I mean, you still leave quite a lot on the table, that's for sure. But
yeah, well,
it's one of those things, the same thing we talk, I mean, obviously with the industry I work in, we're always talking about goals and setting goals and making them realistic and then also meeting them. And one thing everyone always brings up is that you have to write them down. They're like, basically set yourself 3 main goals. Because they did a bunch of studies on how people work, and they said if you write down those 3 main goals at least once a week for 3 months, the chances of you actually accomplishing those goals skyrockets. Whereas if you just or they said like make sure that you have somebody you can be accountable to. Tell other people about your goals. When you have to like prove to other people you're going to do something, you're going to get it done. When it's just it's really easy to write yourself off and then say this is going to happen and then not do it, and then you just brush it off like it's no big deal. When other people are like, well, hey, weren't you going to do that? You know, like you start to feel like you actually have to get
kind of like a
things done.
driving factor.
Yeah, it is a huge driving factor, whether it's subconscious or conscious. It's there, and it's one of those huge things. So like I said, I mean, writing things down is a huge point as far as
I
just
think
lists,
also
goals,
like
anything.
you said, writing down once a week, because my big thing was I would always write goals and I would have so much fun writing them and then I'd just forget about them.
Yeah. So they're like, it doesn't matter how many times you write it, like how much you write it down, but like at least once a week. Just make sure you're constantly writing them, like because it's just writing it down once and putting it on your wall doesn't do anything either. Like it has to be a conscious
you have to keep looking
motion.
at them.
Yeah.
Or just reminding yourself.
Yeah, if you
however
like look at them,
however
then you
do
kind of
that.
it's kind of in your head.
Doesn't
again.
matter.
That's why
I mean,
then
based
you're
off the
more-
study, they said it doesn't matter if you're looking at it. They said writing it down has such a huge effect on the way your brain works that it just actually makes
it's
you
like
do
you
it.
Oh,
see
wow.
the physical form of it. It's like, oh, this isn't just
Yeah,
a
that was
thought
beside my
anymore.
point, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. That's why, I mean, I like span my whole bedroom. Like, I have, like, everything.
Yeah, I'm talking about it as opposed to just saying it in your
Oh,
head.
yeah.
Oh.
And
No, it's like, oh, I'm going to do this. I
Yeah.
forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goals will be done in 2 days. What was I going to do?
Yeah. Done. That's a fun. And then, well, it's always going back and revisiting goals as well. It's like, did I achieve this goal? Or do I need to rework? Does it have more importance? Is it important anymore? Because, like, a lot of people, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they said the big thing
Myself
too was
included.
just sitting down afterwards and analyzing those goals. Okay, what did I do? Did I actually get these things done? If I didn't, why not? If I did, what am I going to do next year to, make those goals go up a level, improve on those, make them a whole nother set of goals. And I think once again comes back to self-analyzation, just sitting down and rehashing everything for yourself, not for anybody else, is a huge deal.
cool.
This is,
Yeah, I love it when we get to these points.
I
where
do
we're done with
too, because
topics
it's
and-
like, how long have we been talking?
Yeah, what time do you want to wrap
No,
up
not
at?
2 hours. We're at hour 23 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So we're pretty good. Well,
Unless somebody else has something to bring up. I'm pretty hungry, I'll tell you that much.
I am as well. Yeah, boom. All right, everyone, here we go. We're going to wrap this up. Thank you, Kevin, Ryan, and Matt, for joining me. Thank you so much, John, for helping us out with this. You the hot damn jam, hot diggity, all that.
Say hot dick.
Hot dick.
You're
When
the
you
hot
listen to this
dick.
again, you'll hear it.
Yeah. He's got a hot. Also, thank you everyone who checks this out. If you do, this will be a laugh to come back to in a few years if it goes out anywhere. Also,
Or if
if
it
you got the
doesn't.
feedback for me, send it to me. I'll read the actual comments because I need feedback. And all right, Frick Squad out.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Charlie.